Hi, this is Jonah, your IB, SL, and HL biology tutor here at Blossom. Let me first introduce myself. So, I graduated from the IB curriculum in 2018 with a 7 in HL biology, as well as receiving an A for my extended essay on biology. I then went on to complete my bachelor's in biomedical science with a minor in kinesiology, as well as a handful of biology related subjects in the University of Hong Kong. And with my grades, I'm currently set to begin my master's in physiotherapy studies at the University of Queensland. With 5 years of tutoring under my belt, I believe that I am well equipped to provide insights and tips for your upcoming IB biology exam. So, what are some of the things that you should revise? Unfortunately, for biology, it would be wiser for you to revise everything than to try to predict what the upcoming exams will test you. Not to mention that across paper 1 and paper 2, basically all topics will be covered. However, there are easier ways to revise than to simply try to memorize everything. Whilst I did just mention that it would be unwise to predict what questions will come up in your final exam, what we can do is to highlight important areas in each topic to revise. And I believe that this is best done through essay questions. So for example, for topic 1.6, cell division, I would recommend completing an essay question going over the process of mitosis, as well as the different stages of the cell division. After completing that essay question, you should have a basic understanding of the content in topic 1.6. But to fully understand everything in 1.6, you can do so by asking yourselves a few questions about the content, such as what are the mechanisms for controlling mitosis, to which you will arrive at the content for cyclins. Another question that would then arise is what would occur if these mechanisms were not controlled, to which you will then arrive at the content for cancer development. This is just one example of a question that not only you can use to help you revise, but one that may also pop up in the final exam. And there are so many types of questions that could pop up, all of which you can easily decipher what they want from you from the first word. So, for example, questions that start with state or outline usually only want you to give a definition or perhaps a short answer from the information given. Explain and describe, on the other hand, would require you to go in depth on a certain topic and talk about the underlying processes, with explain questions including the causes or cause of a certain process. Distinguish would require you to point out the differences between the two things asked in the question, whereas compare would require you to point out both the differences and similarities. Similarly, discuss questions would also require you to talk both sides, but through the lens of an argument. Therefore, you need to point out the pros and cons, or arguments for and against a certain topic. There is also questions that would require you to calculate or draw, but those are self-explanatory. To illustrate my point, let's quickly go over how I would approach some of these questions. First question, outline the role of the parts of an alveolus in a human lung for 4 points. Since this is an outline question, all I need to do is simply identify which structures are present within an alveolus, what role they play in the alveolus, and then just simply write it down. As you can see, outline questions are usually quite simple, so all you really need to do is to write as many points as the question requires you to do so. Here's an example of an explain question. Explain the structure and function of arteries and veins for 8 points. So clearly here we can see that the question is much more demanding in terms of points. And to properly explain, what you would need to do is not only give some of the structures of arteries and veins, but you would also need to explain how these structures serve the different functions of arteries and veins, connecting the two areas of this question. And notice how this question can actually be separated into two portions, arteries and veins, which can then each further be subdivided into structure and function. So what this question wants is for you to raise two structures and their corresponding functions for both arteries and veins. This is how you would break down a question into its individual components based on the points required. And this is something that is really common for explain type questions. Let's go over one more type of question. Compare the genetic material of prokaryotes and eukaryotes for 6 points. To properly answer this compare question, you should not only talk about the similarities between prokaryotes and eukaryotes, but also their differences. For the sake of clarity, it would be also best to compare using the same criteria instead of simply listing off qualities of the genetic material of prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So, for example, you can talk about the shape of the genetic material for each type. These are just some of the types of questions that I will go through in the SL and HL IB biology course here on Blossom, and their answers will be covered in my course. After every subtopic, we'll summarize and go over the important areas through using a few essay questions, all of which serves as a way for you to familiarize yourself with each subtopic, as well as act as practice questions for the exam. For SL, we'll be going over cell biology, molecular biology, genetics, ecology, evolution, and human biology, whereas for HL course, we will also be going over nucleic acids, metabolism, respiration, photosynthesis, plant biology, genetics and evolution, and animal physiology. However, this is not all you'll get from signing up to this course. In addition to the tutoring videos, I will also be giving you guys the same handwritten notes that I've used back when I took the exam to get a 7, but in a more concise and organized format. Finally, we will be organizing some form of platform where you guys will be able to ask me any questions you have with studying or with the syllabus. If all these things seem attractive to you, you should take advantage of our special offer right now, whereby entering the code JONAH65, you can earn a discount of 65% off of my course. No matter what stage you are in your IB biology studies, whether you just started or whether you're preparing for your final exam, I believe that my course can help you regardless. Can't wait to see you guys in Blossom.